Hello, friends. We are so excited that you are here with us again to talk about our book, Wonders of the Ocean Realm. And we're going to be sharing more about another creature today. So today we have Dexter the Mimic Octopus. But before we get there, let me tell you a bit about myself. I am Trisha Goyer. I wrote this book with my friend Sherry right there, and she'll introduce herself in a minute. I am a homeschooling mom of 10 kids. I write lots of books. I love learning along with my kids, and I just love making stories come to life. So I was excited to work on this with my friend Sherry.
Yes. And so I'm also a homeschool mom of four. Our kids are grown, but I'm a marine biologist too. And I worked at Walt Disney World years ago. And I write curriculum and teach kids all about science. And I love exploring how we can see God's fingerprints in creation. And so when Trisha and I come together, we love to tell stories about fun creatures and see how God has uniquely made them. And so today, this is episode 3. This is the third creature in our book of short stories. There's 5 short stories in this book. And today we're going to talk about Dexter, the mimic octopus.
He is so cool looking. I love
Isn't he
him.
cool? That's
Yeah.
right. Well, and what's neat about mimic octopus, many people know that octopuses can change their color and maybe even their shape, but Dexter changes his behavior and copies other ocean creatures so that he can hide away in plain sight. He can look like a predator, even if he's not. And so it's really amazing to learn about this creature.
I love it. It was so fun when we were looking at the different ocean creatures. One thing that we were looking at also was the depth at which they live. So we had Astrid, who was the sea star, and she lives at the very top, at the ocean. She lives in tide pools. And then Maximus, the peacock mantis shrimp, lives in a further down depth, deeper depth. And then Dexter is a little bit lower than that. So these are the levels of the ocean, and it's so amazing that we're learning more and more about these creatures at the different depths of the ocean. And so I just love that we can learn about them. And it was so interesting, Sherry. You were explaining some of the interesting facts about Dexter. So why don't you start by telling us some of those?
Yeah, octopuses are fascinating animals. They're very similar in structure to a clam or an oyster, and yet they have some amazing abilities and features that set them apart. For one thing, an octopus has 9 hearts. Did you know that? They have one large heart in their body, and then they also have 8 smaller hearts, one at the base of each of their 8 long arms. And that helps them move more adeptly and coordinate themselves really well. They also can change color. They have special cells that are called chromatophores. And chromatophores are just, that's a very fancy word. But a chromatophore is just a stretchy sac inside the cell that has color pigment. And by expanding the sac or contracting the sac, that's how the octopus can control what kind of colors that it presents. And it does it in a moment and without even thinking that hard. They also can change their texture. If you think about it, have you ever had goosebumps before on your arm where there's tiny little bumps that appear? We have small little muscles that will contract and cause a little tiny bumps on our arms that we call goosebumps. Well, that's kind of what an octopus does as well. They have small bundles of muscles called papillae, and they're arranged in kind of a spider web pattern that helps them contract. And when they do, that's how an octopus can change its texture. And yet the difference is an octopus can do it whenever it wants. We can't make ourselves form goosebumps, can we? All right. And then their shape and behavior, they have no hard parts in their body except for their mouth, which is like a beak. Now, they also have to have good eyesight and be smart so that they can blend in to the environment around them. And we know that they can solve puzzles, so we know they're smart. In captivity, they've learned how to solve puzzles to find their food. And so these fascinating creatures are creatures that we love to study. And the fact that God made them so complex, even though they're classified in the same group as clams and oysters, that is a testimony to God's creation. So they're super fascinating creatures. And I love to tell the story. And wait till you read this story if you haven't yet about Dexter because you will see the adventure he goes through and how he's able to mimic so many creatures.
And that was a fun part writing about Dexter because he's doing so many things that I was able to use. And we worked together on the book and writing a lot of descriptive language to describe how he was moving and different shapes he was making and how he was changing colors. So there was a whole lot to describe about what Dexter was doing. So I'm going to read a part of the book about Dexter, and it's called The Sneaky Sea Snake Dance. And so this is what this part says. It's morning. Who will Dexter be today? He sees a dangerous banded sea snake wriggling by. Dexter watches its slithering swimming pattern. He notices the black and white stripes. If Dexter can copy a threatening predator, he can scare off animals that want to attack him. In the distance, he sees a large fish hunting for food. Dexter is too wide to make his whole body look snake-like, so he finds a small hole in the seafloor and burrows into it. Dexter hides in the hole and sticks out some of his arms. Adjusting his chromatophores, he forms black and white bands. Dextromorpho. Then Dexter waves his arms back and forth to copy a snake's movement. Look, I'm a sea snake. Stay away from me. The large fish moves past, avoiding what he thinks is a sea snake. Next, a curious damselfish swims near. Damselfish are very protective of their territory and are aggressive towards small octopuses like Dexter. Again, Dexter sticks out two arms out of the sand, mimicking the banded sea snake. The damselfish darts and skitters. He thinks he will be lunch next. The damselfish swims away before it is attacked. Dexter is safe again.
There
And
he
so,
is.
isn't that amazing that he was able to make his arms look like a sneaky snake? And so,
I'm going to show it
some
again.
things, yeah, as he's wiggling around, it describes the wiggling, the changing, the colors, and all those things were woven through. So, it is so fun to write descriptive things about creatures that are changing into all different shapes.
That's right. That's right. So you could even try to move and mimic like Dexter does by slithering on the floor like a snake, or hopping like a bunny, or curling up into a turtle with a shell on your back.
Maybe you have an elephant's nose.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. There's so many. We try to do that, but we can't do it nearly as well as Dexter can and other mimic octopuses because God designed them to be able to look very much like their other animals. So I'm going to read a little bit about Dexter trying to copy another creature. This is a natural mimic. Dexter sees a new creature coming. A poisonous flatfish called a sole glides along the ocean floor, and Dexter watches as the sole slips and slides as flat as a pancake. Black and gray, tan and white, the sole's speckles match the ocean floor. So Dexter changes his chromatophores, he changes his shape, and he ends up looking very much like a flatfish. And we have one right here. There's a flatfish and there's Dexter. You can see how they look like each other. That's why he's called a mimic octopus. He mimics other creatures. And so, a fun activity that we thought would be great for you to do, we have actually created three images. These images are of Dexter, or a octopus, and we have the octopus on three separate kinds of backgrounds. So if you print these out, we're going to put those in the show notes below, or you can print them out, and then you can color them to make Dexter disappear. I went ahead and colored this one in blue so you could kind of see what we're talking about here. If that was black, Dexter would blend in to the background completely. And so you can do that before and after with Dexter and help him mimic the background so you don't even see him any longer.
That is so neat how they use camouflage. And that's just one of the interesting things that he does. He does so many interesting things. And near the end of the book, we always talk about going deeper, and we have a deep dive section. And one of the things that it says is in the Bible, Proverbs 1:5 says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and let the one who understands obtain guidance." God wants us to be teachable learners, always ready to understand and grow. So let's be smart like Dexter. Let's use God's gift of observation and learn from those around us. These lessons help us grow wiser each day, not just in tending gardens or flipping pancakes, but in loving and living as God wants us to. And just like Dexter is able to observe, and he's like, wait, that looks like a snake. I'm gonna mimic. We can mimic the things and the people in our lives when we see someone caring for another person or speaking kindly to another person. We can mimic those things. We can also learn and understand just like Dexter's able to learn. And he's just a creature in the ocean. We can learn and understand so many more things.
That's right. And so I hope that you guys are excited to learn more about Dexter. You can read about him in Wonders of the Ocean Realm. He's the third out of five creatures that we are talking about. This week is the third week. And so we will be coming back with two more creatures in the following weeks to talk about their exciting lives, the way they've been uniquely made, and how you can learn about their stories.
We hope you enjoy Wonders of the Ocean Realm. It's a story that you could read together as a family and that you could share with others. So we hope you enjoy it, and we will see you here next week.
Bye.